Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Deep Thoughts. And today we are talking all about Ascendance of a Bookworm Chapter 1, A World Without Books. Before we begin though, I do want to let you all know that if you would like to have your name shouted out in next week's Ascendance of a Bookworm video, then be sure to share this video around on the internet and then tag me at JoJo Talks Too Much over on Twitter, and I will be sure to shout your name out in next week's video. Now with that said, I do have to say that this premiere is awesome. I really like this. This might be the premiere to beat so far. With that said, I want to talk about three things in particular. I want to talk about the fact that this is an ultra refreshing isekai. I want to talk about the fact that this is the hero we never knew we needed, and also the visual treat that is this show. At least so far. This first episode, very strong in terms of the visual department. In fact, let's go ahead and start with that because I immediately adored the art direction in this premiere. From the setting, like from the way that they made the settings look, these really like sort of soft backgrounds. They really complemented the very poppy colors used in the characters, from the blue hair to the green hair to the very light blue hair from the main character, or from the character we see in the beginning. The art direction for the character art is perfectly balanced by the softer backgrounds of the show, at least as far as I'm concerned. Art can be very subjective, and I'm sure some people will say that maybe like the character designs are sort of stock because, again, they are very poppy and colorful, but you've also seen similar looking character art in something like, say the Slime series had a very similar art direction, and I can see that complaint, but to me, I like that character art design. So for me, I really enjoyed both the design of the character art, but if you have been watching the channel for a while, you'll know that I'm a big fan of background art, and the settings that the show delivers to us are stunningly pretty. They're not like the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, but they are very pretty, and some shots put me back on my heels, in particular the opening with the way the setting had these like really like tons of books, and it felt, but at the same time it didn't feel like as sterile as a study can sometimes feel. It felt very comforting and very cozy, and I really loved it. And the setting of the house that Motosu, or Mine, lives in, even the setting of the market is really pretty, and everything's just, even though it's not like the elite district, right? Even though it's not the nobles area, they still managed to make the commoners area feel sort of like fun and alive while not being too harsh with its colors, not being too harsh with its line work. I thought it was really, really well handled. If you can't tell, I loved the art in this first episode. And it's not just like the regular art too. The art we see in the flashback is this lovely minimalistic approach. I thought it was so pretty. Like the flashback of how Motosu becomes Mine, like when we see her as a librarian and she's going through all the books, and the way they're able to tell that story. Like they do say, like, it is a monologue, but they could have easily just shown this with a background vocal, or just like a background track playing, and just shown that, and like the way the shapes bleed into each other and the colors are all poppy and vibrant. You could have easily just shown that, and it would have told everything about Motosu before she gets isekai'd. It was so pretty. I friggin' adored that. And plus too, the nice little chibi art is fun as that comes into play later on towards the end of the episode, and it even shows up in the ED. The chibi style shows up as sort of mirrored in the ED for the show, which is a very super pleasant ED, very pleasant tune, very calming, great way to end this sort of a show, great ending. I'm actually looking forward to seeing it, or rather hearing it again next week as well. And the OP is charming as hell to boot. It has this amazing book aesthetic to it, very appropriate for the show. The OP and the ED perfectly match the show, both in terms of the tracks that were picked and in terms of the visuals. This is a solid OP and ED that brilliantly match the show. But enough about art and music. I'm sure you guys don't care. You guys want to know what the show itself is like, and let me tell you, this, as I said, one of the talking points I have to bring up is that this is a super ultra refreshing isekai. This is very different to most other isekai that we have seen. For one thing, the main character is not a NEET or a hikikomori or a otaku or anything like that. Well, I mean, I guess she is a book otaku, but like, you know what I mean? And it's not a dude this time around. That's also surprising. It's actually a girl, which we don't see too often these days. We used to, Escaflowne anybody, but yeah, it's genuinely kind of refreshing. If that was it, I would have said it was refreshing, but wasn't quite refreshing enough. But the rest of the show still delivers on just being, it's very isekai, but it's also very different. The whole atmosphere, the whole mood, the main character, who we will get to in her own segment in this video because she is amazing, but the whole mood and vibe of this series feels so different to other isekai. For one thing, there's no like RPG-esque like fighting system set up in this world, at least not yet. We don't even really know if there's monsters in this world at all. We just know it's a vaguely medieval setting. It could be a fantasy setting. In fact, I'm hoping it is. I hope we get like magic and stuff like that because, you know, part of the fun with isekai is the fact that it is a fantasy setting that they're being transported to. If it's just a medieval setting, I'm also kind of down with that as well, just given that I'm already sold on the art direction. I'm already sold on this little setting that we're in. So even if we like never left or we just only see like the peasant area and then the nobles area, I'd genuinely be pretty cool with that. I'd at least hope to see the cathedral area before the end of the show as well. But yeah, if it was just this town, I'd genuinely be okay with that. It's just sort of nice to have a show that doesn't immediately throw like just the technicals of fighting, like how magic works, how fighting works, like the different classes. Like there's none of that. It's just a medieval-esque looking town that she gets transported to, and she takes it on the chin. She doesn't freak out or anything. I mean, she does have a freak out because obviously this is an intense situation, but it's never like played up for laughs. It's actually genuinely kind of emotional, and we'll get to that as we go, but there's other stuff that I want to point out as being very different. Our hero even starts in a sort of average family who are just sort of average folk. She's not like reincarnated into this amazing family where she has crazy magic and she's overpowered and whoa. It's just an average family who live in an average area and they're getting by, and that's all there is to it. She's not overpowered. If anything, she's underpowered because the person that she actually inhabits is quite sickly, and that does complicate things, but it shows how clever she is. Again, we'll get to it. But it's nice to have this sort of average family with average problems. They're just peasants trying to get by, and they're not like cruel either. They're just good people. Like they're good people making the best of a tough hand that they were dealt. They have a sickly child, they're peasants, they're trying to get by, but they're still happy, they're upbeat, they're taking care of mine with a smile on their face, love in their hearts. They're very good, genuine people. Even the townsfolk that we meet are very good, genuine people. They're not like go out of your way, oh my god, they're so kind. They're just sort of good, genuine, nice people, and it's genuinely refreshing to not have somebody be like a smug jerk, like with like the evil Dio smile. It's just kind of nice. Now that said, it's not abundantly pleasant. They do address like, some of the pitfalls of living in a more medieval society. That being that bathing can be an issue, going to the washroom can be an issue since you're basically hurling waste over the side of the balcony. I'd hate to be the guy walking down the street that day. And it's also sort of refreshing knowing that she doesn't get like killed in the normal way. Now, don't get me wrong. You guys know I'm a big fan of our boy Truck-kun, but he does not make an appearance in this show. No. The way mine goes out is the way she lived. She gets Sean Matthews'd to death. What do I mean by that? Well, if you've seen Boy Meets World, you know exactly what I mean by that. Yes, that's right, her true love kills her. Books crush her to death. And again, it's not specifically said, it's only shown in that beautiful art style, which I really like. You don't always have to like tell us abruptly. Sometimes you can show instead of tell, and we can still get what's going on. And Motosu/Mine is so, like, even the way she becomes Mine, like the way she is reincarnated, is also super refreshing and almost kind of sad, honestly. And this leads us nicely into the hero we never knew we needed, Mine, because the way she enters the scene is Mine was already person who existed. And Motosu, when she gets reincarnated, actually like inhabits her body, and we hear Motosu say the other voice is gone. Like there was another voice here. You hear two voices very briefly, and then the other voice goes away, and it's almost sort of like it's not sad necessarily, but there's a sort of melancholic vibe of watching Motosu realize that she's in a body that's not hers. So mine's clearly like mine is either like reverted back into her subconscious, or she's just gone. And that's kind of emotional. And at the same time, she's also trying to like process the fact that she's not gonna see her mom again. She's never gonna be able to go back to whatever library she was the librarian of. And it takes her a second to like look at her hands and be like, these are my hands? Like this is an unfamiliar ceiling. Like it takes her a minute. And she, like, all she wants to do is just to read in order to cope. Like, she makes it a point, like, I need books. And it's funny. Like, it is played up for laughs to an extent, but it's also to show how all she needs is a book right now, because that's her comfort. Like, if she has a book, she's able to deal. Like, in the same way that if I were to be isekai'd, if I had my Switch, I'd be able to deal. You know what I mean? Like, if I had something familiar, something that I really cared about, I might be able to cope a little bit better with the situation. I'd be able to be a little bit more of a trooper about it. And she is an absolute trooper through this whole thing. As a main character, she has the good spirit, just confidently moving forward as long as she can find herself a book to read. She's willing to go through some stuff, and she's willing to work with what she has. Like, she is aware that she is a bit sickly. There's something a little, like, she's a bit more frail than others in the body that she has inhabited. But she's still crafty and really clever, and it's shown in that scene earlier when she's aware she's too small to reach the door handle, so she kind of moves her cot closer to the door so that she can hop up and pull the door open. That was genuinely really clever, and I have a feeling it's going to come up again later on during the show. You know, it helps to be clever when you're reincarnated into another world, because eventually you're going to go on some kind of adventure, I'm sure. Although, honestly, I don't even know if we're going to go on an adventure. I think the adventure itself is just going to be becoming an author in another world, and I'm kind of down for that. And that very much is her mission statement, and I will be referring to her as mine from now on, since she pretty much just assumes the identity of mine. And it is going to become the mission statement of mine trying to become an author, since she's aware that books are going to be incredibly hard to come by, since they all have to be like copied by hand. There's no printing press yet. So she's gonna have to figure out a way to become an author so that she can get closer to other books. It's genuinely very clever. It's cool that we immediately get the mission statement at the premiere of this show. I can't really think of too much that I disliked. At times, like, as much as I love the art, at times some of the eyes are a bit wonky. There's not really any character beats. I do wish we, actually, now that I think about it, I do wish we knew a little bit more about the dad. We don't really get to know as much about him as we get to know about the mom and the sister. But honestly, there's not much I didn't enjoy about this episode. I really friggin' liked it. Like I said, this may be the premiere to beat. On that note, though, everybody, I'm gonna go ahead and put this premiere for Ascendance of a Bookworm in the A tier. I thought this was a brilliant premiere. I really enjoyed this. But hey, before we all take off, as always, I want to give a big shout out to the good folks over on Patreon, namely those in the Earl Grey tier: Calvin Atkinson, Crowbar of Irony, Dominic, Urza, Ginkotaku, No For Nothing, Maria Teresa, Mirthmouser, Nye, Omnigaramond, Cell, Shadow Creative, Sipco Games, Somastan, Steven, Tristan, and Verdon. Thank you all so much for your continued support over on Patreon, and if you too would like to join the T Squadron, then by all means go ahead and check out the first link in the description to check out our Patreon page, see all the cool rewards you can get over there, as well as access to our Patreon exclusive Discord. But on that note, everybody, that is going to be a video, so I hope you all enjoyed today's video, and if you did, you've probably been on the internet long enough to know what to do already, so I ain't going to tell you, but I will say that it is appreciated, and if you are feeling stressed out today, you go have yourself a warm cup of tea, and I will talk to you all again real soon.